Greetings. It is I and my coffee, and today I have LGBTQ plus book recommendations for Phi. It would be Thee though, wouldn't it? For Thee. Hey everybody, I am Maya. Welcome to my channel if you are new, and welcome back if you are returning. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about some LGBTQ plus books that I think you should read ASAP. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron. Where are you? Where is Ron right now?
This one is for you. You requested this video a while ago, Aaron, and I didn't film it, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, I should be making this video anyway because they're amazing books, but also because someone requested it, and I think you requested it for your brother. I could be wrong. Anyway, all that is to say, I'm very sorry it's taken so long for me to do this video, but I'm here now. I have recorded it before. My SD card was full, so I didn't record half the video. Also, Alex from This Is Not a BookTube recently did a video similar to this one, so watching that video will be my reward for finally recording this one, because, you know, I don't want her ideas to blend into mine. I don't want to steal an amazing idea from her subconsciously or consciously. You know how in like murder mysteries, witnesses can't talk to each other, else their facts will bleed together? I think the same thing is relatively true for book reviews and recommendations, just because, you know, I want to be giving you my opinions and then go explore the wonderful opinions and ideas and recommendations by someone else. My first book for you guys is going to be This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel. This novel follows a family. I believe that the mother of the family, whose name is Rosie, is the main character. They're growing up as a family, but like mostly their kids are growing up, and they live in like the Midwest. I want to say Ohio. It could definitely not be Ohio though. Anyway, their family has a ton of kids, and the youngest child is named Claude and was born male. However, as Claude grows up, their parents realize that gender is not as binary as male or female, and Claude eventually starts adopting female pronouns and changes her name to Poppy. Not only is this book just beautifully written and so empathetic in its approach and so nuanced in its execution, but it's an own voice story in the sense that Lori Frankel's daughter is transgender, and the main character, the person who we're seeing everything play out through, is the mom of Poppy. And I just appreciated that Lori Frankel wrote the book from her perspective, because of course it's then true to her experiences and it feels even more deep, and I already said the word nuance, so let's go with complex. It's just a stunning read. The writing is gorgeous, the characters are really compelling, and it's about the world we live in that is very strict with binaries and really expects people to conform to certain boxes or identities or ways of life, and how those expectations affect not only the individual but the people surrounding that individual. It is a book surrounding a trans character. It's wonderful. You should go read it. My next recommendation is actually for a book I personally didn't like, but it's really popular on BookTube, and I think it's popular for a reason. That is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I have this dilemma in my head, and it goes something like this. Representation is super important in literature, but representation doesn't necessarily make a book good. You can have a book that's full of diverse cast members and characters and perspectives, and that's amazing, and that's something we should talk about and really celebrate. But it can also not be a great book, and that's how Red, White, and Royal Blue played out for me. It follows a relationship between the Prince of England, I think his name's like Henry, and the first son of the United States, whose name is Alex. It's a male-male romance. However, Alex is bisexual, which was cool, although his bisexuality was discussed very briefly. Although there is plenty of humor in the writing, and it's a relatively engaging book, I'm not a fan of smut, and I know I've said this a lot, but I don't hate it. Like, I'll read a book and I'll finish a book and I can still appreciate a book even if it's full of smut. It's just not something I go looking for when I'm picking out a book. And I think that for me, Red, White, and Royal Blue was marketed to me as a young adult romance, and it was not. There were a solid 200 pages of like pure smut, and if that's your cup of tea, that's awesome. It wasn't mine. I also didn't really think that the characters had great chemistry. I don't know. There were parts that were like super cute, but then other parts where I was like, why are they being put together? They're like, so it was one where I just didn't ship the main couple, but it definitely has a lot of representation in it, and I think a lot of people could probably see themselves in it. It also has politics in it and a certain ounce of fantasy, and that female president. Yeah, if that sounds like something that's up your alley, I would recommend it, and you'll probably like it. I just didn't. Next, we've got Her Royal Highness, which is a female-female romance. This is a cool one for me personally because it takes place in Scotland, and I love Scotland so much. I've only been there once, but like, it was amazing. I got lost in Mary Queen of Scots' room at Holyrood House, not palace. Good grief, Maya. But anyway, that was an adventure. And that aside, Her Royal Highness follows our main character who's from the United States. I want to say she's from the South, and she gets accepted into this boarding school in Scotland for her senior year. So she goes there. It's like a really wonderful, fantastical, kind of magical experience for her. But she doesn't like her roommate. Her roommate's kind of not the best. But then she finds out her roommate is the Princess of Scotland. And that adds a whole nother layer to things. Essentially, this is kind of an enemies to lovers story. There's some really cute parts. I love the Thanksgiving scene. You'll know what I mean if you read it or if you read it. It was cute. It was a 3.5 star book. Just kind of average in its story and in its writing, but I definitely enjoyed it. It's kind of like a chicken noodle soup book. No, I spilled coffee. My Flintstone sweatshirt. Then we have The Black Flamingo by Dean Ada. I do not like books written in verse, and this is something that I need to get over because a lot of the stories that I've read in verse I've loved. I just don't like the format and it takes away from the experience for me, so I think my solution is I just need to expose myself more to verse. Black Flamingo is kind of semi-autobiographical, and it's about a young boy. He's biracial, he's growing up in the UK, he's gay, and he finds refuge in the drag community as he enters college and beyond. It's an exploration of identity and sexuality and love and joy and family relationships, and I really, really loved it. It's definitely been getting a lot of exposure this year. I know a lot of my friends, including Lena, really love it, and yeah, you should check it out. The next one I'm conflicted about, because I don't really yet know how I feel about straight white women writing gay stories. On one hand, it's great because people will read straight white women's books, and if those straight white women are writing about a diverse range of experiences, then more people are likely to be exposed to those books. At the same time, it's not their story. It's not their lived experience for the most part. It's not their tale to tell, and sometimes that results, not always, but sometimes that results in stories that aren't really authentic to the true experience of people who do have that identity, whether it be sexual orientation or gender. But yeah, you've probably guessed by now, Simon versus the Homo Sapiens agenda. Sapiens? Yeah, I'm conflicted. I know that when I read it in middle school, I found the story nice. I also know that there are lots of parody videos on YouTube about how Simon is like the straightest gay boy. But yeah, there are problems there, for sure. But still, I felt like it was generally a good coming of age story. Next, we've got anything really written by James Baldwin. I haven't read anything by James Baldwin yet, which I know is atrocious, okay? I know. I really want to read Giovanni's Room, which in particular explores sexuality. James Baldwin was a civil rights activist, an incredible writer, and he was gay, but that's a part of his identity that's not talked about as much. And in his books, sometimes he did explore sexuality, and an example of that is Giovanni's Room, which is on my TBR, to be read very soon, hopefully. But yeah, anything by James Baldwin I feel really confident in recommending because he's just such an incredible writer. Next, we've got one I am currently reading. I put it down for the time being just because I'm super picky about audiobook narration, and this particular narrator was getting on my nerves. She just swallowed a lot, and I know that's petty. So I put it down for now, but I'm definitely gonna check it out from the library. That is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. If I Was Your Girl follows our main character who is transgender as she goes to a new school in her father's hometown. It's high school, it's brutal, she's had horrible experiences in her past because of her identity and because she is trans, and she's hoping that at this new school she can maybe turn over a new leaf. But she finds herself falling for this very sweet, adorable, nice, geeky, dorky guy, and she really wants to be able to open up to him and tell him about all of her lived experiences and things like that. But she's not sure if by opening up and letting him know about her past, if he'll stay or if she'll lose something really wonderful in her life. And so it's a big internal conflict, being true to yourself and also being your true self in the presence of people you really love and appreciate in your life. It's quite good so far. It's written in the South, so that's an added layer. But I'm really liking it. The characters are good, the writing is good, the relationship between the main character and her parents is really interesting, and I definitely recommend it. The next one I'm recommending as a book that does include a gay romance, but it's not a book that revolves around that. Does that make sense? I think I'm probably recommending this book primarily because the characters in it, gay or not, are very fleshed out. They're very well-rounded. They're real people. They're not just facades or a diversity checklist. You know what I mean? And this is a book that I believe is also written by a straight woman, although I could be wrong. That is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is a brutal book. It was my favorite book for an incredibly long time because it destroyed me, for lack of a better word. I found it so touching. It was really brutal. Please read the trigger warnings, guys. Please do not read this book if you're in any way struggling. Really, you should be in a really stable mental space to read this. But it follows 4 friends living in New York City as they mature through their lives. It follows them from like college age to when they're much older. Their names are Jude, JD, Willem, and Malcolm. His name is Malcolm. It follows these friends who have this really unique bond and this really strong friendship, but it also follows their individual struggles and hardships, particularly Jude's struggles. He had a really horrific childhood, and he's had a really horrific life. I think that the book is so powerful to me because it's just these ordinary people. They're very ordinary people. Jude is incredibly intelligent, but he lives a very ordinary life, but it's about how even the littlest of lives, the most seemingly insignificant of lives, can have so much depth to them and so much pain, but also so much love and beauty. And so again, this book is not centered around LGBTQ plus themes, but it does have LGBTQ plus main characters who have just really awful and really wonderful experiences. It's confusing. It's a confusing book because it's so torturous to read, but when I finished it, I felt so alive, and I don't know how else to put it. This is one I have on my list, haven't picked it up yet, but it's called I Wish You All the Best, and it is by the author Mason Deaver. So this book has a non-binary main character, and I was looking through my Goodreads just at the books I've read this year, and I realized I haven't read a book with an explicitly non-binary character, and I want to change that because I read in part to learn and to understand and to become a more empathetic human being and just, to be a better friend, really, at the end of the day. That's what I want to be. So our main character's name is Ben, and they are non-binary, and their identity is rejected by their parents when they come out. And so they move in with their older sister Hannah and her husband, maybe fiance, husband. And so Ben, they go through the rest of their senior year, and they only come out to their sister, their brother-in-law, and their therapist, and they try to keep like a kind of low profile in school. But everything changes when this boy named Nathan meets Ben, and they develop a really strong friendship that might turn into something more. For Ben, this kind of seems like maybe a way that they can turn the page, that they can have a happier end of high school experience. And it's really a book I've read that has a lot to do with hope in the face of adversity, and I think that's a good message at any time in life, but specifically now. So I will definitely be picking up I Wish You All the Best very soon. This one I'm so excited about because I love it. It's The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This one is about a social worker for magical orphans, and he goes around from like magical orphanage to magical orphanage, that was a big thud, to make sure that the kids are in a safe environment, that they're doing okay, that things are going well, and Linus receives this special assignment to go to this particular orphanage that is in a house by the Cerulean Sea and has like particularly extra special magical children. So he goes there, and this is really a story about chosen family. He discovers family within the children. He discovers family within the people who run the orphanage. He's kind of figuring out his own identity while also helping the children understand theirs and understand that even though they're magical, they're human, and they have the capacity for love and empathy that every human does. Beautiful book. Gay romance, really cute. really shipped it 100%. This is a happy book. If you need a book to make you happy, this is the one. The final book I want to talk about today is another one on my TBR. I believe that it's LGBTQ+. I haven't read it yet. I'm not positive, but that is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which I've heard and I've read has an asexual character. So I'm gonna quote this directly. This is from a website called themarysue.com. It says, quote, "Though the protagonist in Radio Silence does not identify on the asexual spectrum, she's bisexual, the deuteragonist," I've never heard that word before, the deuteragonist, does. And it's the first time I've seen the word demisexual on the written page, which is pretty amazing, in addition to just being one of the best books on fandom and friendship ever written. So yeah, I want to read that. I mean, I got it for my birthday. It's right here. I'm so excited to read it, and as soon as I finish my library books that are due in a week, yeah, I'm picking that one up. So there's so many others. I could go on and on and on and on, but that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope that was a decent selection. Please let me know any recommendations you have for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, I will see you guys again next time.